Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Hiya Toys Exquisite Mini Predator 2 Elder Predator figure. And this thing is just packed full of details. It looks really awesome, especially for a figure at this scale. It's very impressive in a lot of ways. It does have a few issues though, so make sure you stick around. If you're interested in buying this line of figures, you're going to want to know about these issues. And then you're going to have to decide for yourself if you think it's worth it or not. I'll give you the information. You guys make the decisions based on what you find important. That's how reviews are supposed to work, and that's how we're going to do it. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 4 3/4 inches to the very top of his head, which makes him just about 12 centimeters. So it might not be quite big enough to be in scale with like your G.I. Joes. I think the Predator should be a little bit taller maybe, but these Predators are not the AVP ones, and they probably are pretty close to accurate. Close enough anyway for probably most people. And aesthetically speaking, it is really, really nicely done. It is just chock full of detail. The paintwork is really nice. There's all kinds of different colors for the skin. There's spots and shading and everything. They painted the mesh on there very nicely. His armor is well shaded and well painted, well detailed. The predlocks in the back, very nicely done. Lots of different colors there. Really can't complain about the aesthetics on this guy at all, especially for a figure this scale. This is pretty much the same type of paint job as you would get from a NECA figure, which is like more than double the size. Now, I don't think these are actually comparable to the NECA figures because they're an entirely different scale, and so there's really nothing to be gained by comparing them. They're not interchangeable figures, but just to give you an idea, that's what we're looking at. All right, he's almost the same size as the leg, and this is one of the small Predators from NECA. So I don't think, like a lot of people ask me to compare them, there's really no comparison to be made that's fruitful. But this will give you a good enough of an idea of what we're talking about. These are very nice details for the scale. So aesthetically speaking, this guy gets a 9 out of 10. It's very, very nicely done. As far as accessories go, we have 2 interchangeable hands. So we have the 2 gripping hands that come out in the package, 2 open hands, which are nice. We get his Danny Trejo, and then we get a pistol, which is kind of cool. We get a spear, which is nicely done. And then we get the display stand with the peg, and then the little connector pieces to connect it to other display stands. So that's not too bad. I think that's a decent batch of accessories. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So far, this guy's on a pretty good pace to having a good rating at the end. Now it's time to talk about the articulation, and unfortunately, that's where things start to kind of fall apart. Not literally, but in terms of the review. We do get a bunch of dangly bits, so we have his necklace there, we have his pouch here, floaty belt and things, so that's all nicely done. The predlocks are very soft and flexible, so those aren't going to get in the way. None of that's really an issue. That's all pretty good stuff. For the blaster up here, or I guess it's a plasma caster, we get a ball peg, which lets it move around a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked. It doesn't go quite back too far. And then the ball peg that connects the upright piece to the gun itself, doesn't really want to move, so be very careful with that. For the head, I believe it's just a single ball peg, but you get decent range. You can really lean it side to side. Rotating it is not really a problem. Looking up and down, you can look up pretty well. He can look down pretty well, so that's very nice. I love the articulation for the neck on this guy. Very well done. For the shoulders, it's a ball hinge, so you get your full rotation minus where the backpack is. You get your hinge to raise it up, though there are shoulder pads in the way. It still gets up pretty far. That's fine. You get your bicep swivel underneath the shoulder pad, so that's all right. Single jointed elbow, though. This does make it relatively limited, but you do get about 90 degrees, so that's fine. You get your wrist swivel at the gauntlet. Gauntlet doesn't do anything on this guy, it's too small. And then you get a little ball peg for the wrist, which is fine. And then for the right gauntlet, we do have the extending blades, just like the NECA figures, only much, much smaller. You just slide them out, and then you have your dual blades, which are kind of warped together from the packaging, but you can heat them up and they'll be just fine. So that's very nice. It's very, very effective on such a small figure, so that pleases me. For the diaphragm joint, it's a ball peg. It leans back just a little bit. Leans forward, not very much at all. Side to side, just a little bit. It's mostly going to be just for rotation, so it's a little bit more limited there. For the hips, we have ball pegs, which aren't too bad. Generally speaking, ball hinges are nicer, but these work. They go out about 45 degrees, so you're going to be able to pose them pretty well. Going out to the side, going back, not so far. Going forward, yeah, probably far enough. You do get a thigh swivel in there, so that's pretty good. Double jointed knees, that's definitely good enough. And then here is where we have our problem, which will knock the entire rating for this guy down kind of a good deal because here's the thing. You have a rotation at the ankle, which is kind of useless, and a hinge only. There's no way to rock the foot left and right, so you can't put him in any real poses. And then here's the thing about that. The hinge doesn't really work. I can't get this one to move. This one moves only a little bit, so it's almost impossible for him to stand unassisted. I had to use the display stand in the beginning, this guy, because I could not get those ankles to work, which is definitely a bummer. So with the ankles not included, the articulation on this guy is going to get a 7. With the ankles included, it's going to get a 4. It's almost impossible to get this guy to stand up or to even use the ankles at all. So that really knocks it down, and that's why I said you're going to have to make some value calls here, what you think is most important. If you think you can make the ankles work, then it's not going to be a big deal for you, but if you just want it to be right out of the package and ready to stand up, you're going to have some issues. So, time for the final verdict on this guy. It's a really impressive figure in almost every single way. If I collected this scale, I would be thrilled to have it until I got to the ankles. For me personally, the ankle thing is a really big deal. So my final verdict on this guy is going to be only a 6 out of 10, where it might have been a 7 or 8 otherwise. It's a really solid release other than the ankles. Very impressive everywhere but the ankles. So you guys are going to have to decide for yourself what you think is important. Let me know in the comment section below, how much of a deal is the ankle situation to you? Are you going to ignore the problems, or are you going to be really bothered by them and not buy it? Let me know what you think about all that, and we'll talk about it in the comment section below. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have new videos up just about every single day, and I've got thousands of others for you to check out already on the channel. So make sure you do all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.